Welcome to Washington Unplugged. In Fed We Trust is the latest book from the Wall Street Journal's inside man at the Federal Reserve, David Wessel. Wessel uncovers what Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke knew and what transpired at the critical moments as they labored to prevent an economic catastrophe. David, thanks for being with us. First, I want to ask, what did Bernanke and his team know, and what did they do about it at first?
Well, at first, they didn't know how bad things were. Mr. Bernanke and Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson used the word contained quite a bit to describe the housing mess in 2007, by which they meant they knew we had a housing problem, but they thought the rest of the economy and the rest of the world would help support the U.S. economy. That turned out to be wrong. In August 2007, it passes into the banking system, but it's really not until the beginning of 2008 that they really start to scramble the jets and fight this thing.
So the economy is starting to slide, and at first they think this is something that can be arrested. They didn't have great advanced knowledge of what was coming down.
They knew housing was weak. You'd have to be an idiot not to know that, but they didn't quite understand how much the entire financial system of the United States, and in fact the whole world, rest on a single proposition, that house prices in the U.S. simply don't go down. They didn't know how much Wall Street and other big banks had placed bets that on that one proposition. When it turned wrong, the whole house of cards started to fall, and they didn't see that at first.
Now, you point out in your book that when a president sees a national security crisis, he can respond with the military. But when there's an economic crisis, most of the steps he can take, he's got to go to Congress to get permission. So you turn to the Federal Reserve. That's an awful lot of power.
It is a lot of power. You know, the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 to be the first responder to financial crises, and we've kind of forgotten that over time. But it really became clear in this crisis that nobody has the ammunition that you need to fight off an economic threat like this except the Fed. It's one of the reasons why the Fed has become kind of controversial now, because members of Congress are saying, wait a minute, we have to do through all this rigmarole to spend $10 billion. And Ben Bernanke put $30 billion on the table at Bear Stearns, $85 billion at AIG, created trillions of dollars, and he didn't have to get anybody's permission.
Well, give me the report card. How do you think he did?
You know, we at the Wall Street Journal surveyed economists and asked them what they thought of Bernanke's performance, and one economist, I think, got it exactly right. Outstanding with flaws. I think he made some mistakes. He was slow off the mark. There was a lot of confusion about what he was doing at some points. But when you look at the economy today and where we were a year ago, I think you have to give Mr. Bernanke credit for pulling us back from the abyss of another Great Depression.
Do you think President Obama will give him credit by re-upping him when his term is up?
I think if the president had to make a decision today, he would reappoint Mr. Bernanke in January. Changing drivers when the road is still so bumpy and twisty would be a big risk. I don't think the president will rush to make or even announce that decision, because he'll want to see if the economy falls apart. If it falls apart in the fall, he may decide that it's better off for him to put his own person in at the Fed.
Well, give me your opinion of how the economy is doing right now. We had some encouraging signs with unemployment, not as bad as anyone expected last week. This week, more of a mixed picture.
Right. The retail sales numbers underscored how weak the consumer is. I think the economy is better, but it's not yet healthy. We're no longer at the precipice of recession. We seem to be at the point where the economy is beginning to grow, but it looks like it's going to grow so slowly that it'll be a long time before many Americans feel like there's a recovery.
David Wessel, thank you very much for coming in today.
You're welcome.
In Fed We Trust, helps clear up some of the mystery out there with the economy. Thanks for watching Washington Unplugged. Join us again tomorrow at 12:30 on CBSNews.com. I'm Kimberly Dozier.